Columbia professor Charles Calomiris has his own ideas about how to fix Fannie and Freddie, or the underlying issue itself of low-income housing lending. He's with us here in studio today. Thanks for coming in. This conversation being had in Washington, many people saying this is all talk. We're not going to see action out of this. When will Fannie and Freddie be addressed?
I think it's going to be a couple of years. I think the politics needs to be aligned with the reality more. The losses are going to grow, and I think when they get up into the $300, $400 billion range around 2012.
Well, we're halfway there at
yes.
$150 billion being pumped.
But we're going to see more, and I think the politics and the narrative of the problem is also going to grow over time, the understanding of the problem and the need for fundamental solutions rather than the kinds of accounting or organizational changes that are being discussed now.
Well, the can had been kicked down the road when we saw a financial reform overhaul here. I want to get to your proposal, but first, before we talk about the specifics of it, talk to me more broadly about this idea of sort of tinkering with the infrastructure when the house itself is still shaky. I mean, we look at housing start numbers today, we looked at home builder confidence yesterday, and things are shaky. So can you overhaul the ability of a consumer to even make a housing purchase when you're just hoping someone's going to buy a home right now?
I think the issues are separable. That is, I think if you want to deliver continuing subsidization for, let's say, to mitigate foreclosures, to prevent foreclosures, you can do that in a variety of ways. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are just one organizational structure for doing that. So really, I think that these two issues don't have to be linked. There are very many ways. Many governments that don't have Fannie and Freddie still have mortgage foreclosure mitigation efforts. So I think we could address the fundamental problems right away, notwithstanding the fact that we're in the middle of the resolution of the crisis.
You talk about looking abroad for solutions here. I know you've taken some cues from what you've seen the Australian government do with their housing market. Talk to me about that.
Well, the Australian approach is in some ways the opposite of the U.S. approach. And I guess I would say for most countries they're the opposite of the U.S. approach. The Australian approach delivers its subsidies in the form of helping you with your down payment. That actually stabilizes the housing sector because you get higher equity ratios to the house, less lending. It also, of course, encourages thrift, makes people want to save toward that down payment because the down payment's a little higher. I would propose actually a targeted version of the Australian plan, not to give, as they do, 7,000 Australian dollars to everyone, but to give it to people based on some means testing.
We have a full screen here with the three main bullet points of what it is specifically that you are proposing. You said, as you referenced there, home savings accounts. You want the government to encourage consumers to save for these down payments, to be able to purchase. Right.
That's another part that I think is important. And recognizing that low-income people actually don't pay very much in the way of income tax, you may want to give them a tax benefit coming out of payroll tax as an alternative, which would have a bigger effect. So yes, I think encouraging savings, subsidizing savings is a good idea for low-income people toward homes. The other elements are we have to get rid of the leveraging problem and subsidize the down payments directly to do that.
All right. We'll see what happens and whether your voice is heard. Thank you very much for sharing your proposal.